What's given to us here are a couple of rates, and a rate is comparing two things that have different amounts. So if I look at the plumber, what they're showing is the plumber earns this amount, $80, but that's for 4 hours of work. So I'm really comparing the amount of money to the hours worked. So then they want to know, they want to earn per hour, and that means out of one. So if I know that there's $180 for 4 hours, what I'm trying to find is, what is it for 1 hour? So I know that if I want to take 4 hours down to 1 hour, the only way to do that is to divide by 4. And if I do the same at the top here, I take 180 and I divide it by 4, and I get 45. So I know that the plumber charges $45 per hour. I could also think of it in a bar model form and think that this entire amount represents $180, but it also represents 4 hours. So if I were to split this 180 into individual hours, I just need to find this one unit or this one unit rate, and it takes us right back here to $45 per hour. Said a photocopy machine can make 240 copies in 30 minutes, and they want to know in a single minute. So what I need to do is I need to convert this to a single minute. I know that to make this change to find the unit, I'd have to divide 30 by 30 to get a single minute. So if I do the same thing here, if I take 240 and divide it by 30, it'll give me 8. So it makes 8 copies per minute. I could also think of it in a bar model form and think that the person makes 240 copies over the course of 30 minutes. And then I could, if I wanted to, chop this up into 30 pieces. I'm not going to do that. I think that this way works better, specifically finding that this is your unit rate. If you look at these two problems, why don't you pause the video here and try to work on these two and see what you come up with as an answer. Okay, the first one says a dancer kicks 35 times, that's 35 kicks per 5 minutes. Now that's a rate, but it's not a unit rate. They want per minute, so that means out of 1. So if I need 1 minute, I know that to make 5 minutes into 1 minute, I'd have to divide it by 5. And if I do the same thing here and divide this by 5, that tells me 7 kicks per minute, and that's our unit rate. Student completes 100 multiplication facts over the course of 4 minutes. But what they want to know is how many per single minute. So over the course of 1 minute, I'd have to divide this by 4, divide this by 4. It's 25 facts per minute. That's our unit rate. These problems are slightly more complicated, so they would probably require the use of a calculator. But I'm going to pay attention to what the question is first and what they're asking for. They say Roxy uses a water faucet to fill a pail with water. It takes her 8 minutes to completely fill the 12-gallon pail. So how much water goes in per minute? So that means I'm trying to get from whatever minutes they told me down to 1 minute. So they told me that it fills 12 gallons in 8 minutes, and I'm going to want to make it into 1 minute. If I simply do division by 8 and do division by 8, 12 divided by 8 is 1.5. So it tells me it's a gallon and a half per minute. I could also think of it this way. If I know that this is representing 12 gallons, but that's over the course of 8 minutes, if I were to take this and cut it into eighths, I just have to take the 12 and divide it by 8 to, again, get my unit rate. A farmer sells 3.5 acres of land for $620,000. What's the cost per acre? So they want me to get from however many acres I started with down to a single acre. Well, it looks to me like they start with 3.1 acres for $620,000. And I know the only way to get from 3.1 acres down to 1 acre is divided by itself. And if I do the same to the top, if I take 620,000 and divide it by 3.1, it gives me $20,000 per single acre. Now, this one doesn't really make sense to do this way. We've got $620,000, and I had to cut it into 3.1 parts to 3, and I guess this is a 0.1. I think it makes more sense to do it this way. If you look at these two problems, I would use a calculator, but at least set something up to solve it. Why don't you try these two, pause the video, and then I'll go over the answers. For the first one, it says that the real estate agent sells 1.2 acres of land for $300,000. What's the cost per single acre? So I know I'm trying to get it down to a single acre, but they gave me 1.2 acres. They tell me that 1.2 acres is $300,000. So I'm comparing dollars to acres. If I take this and divide it by 1.2 to get it down to a single acre, if I do the same to the top, I get $250,000 per acre. My calculator helped me out here, but I clearly showed all my steps. The next one says that Kevin's fuel tank was completely empty. He paid $92.75 to fill that tank with 26.5 gallons of gasoline. What's the cost per gallon? So what I know is they want a single gallon. That's what they're asking for. That's the unit rate. But they gave me 26.5 gallons. Well, the 26.5 gallons cost $92.75. So I know to get from 26.5 gallons down to 1 gallon, I'm going to have to divide it by 26.5. And if I divide the top also by 26.5, I get 3.5, but I know it's money, so I make it $3.50 per gallon. For this one, they give me several different types of vegetables here, and they tell me how much we bought and how much it costs, but they want to know the cost per pound because they want to know which one is the most per pound. So I need to take the onions, and I need to find their cost per single pound. I need to take the cauliflower and find its cost per single pound. And I need to take the asparagus and find its cost per single pound. So I'm going to take what they gave me first. For the onion, they say that I got 2 pounds of it, but that costs $7.60. So if I divide that by 2 to get a single pound of it, I'll get $3.80 for a single pound. That's for the onions. For the cauliflower, they said it's 3 pounds worth, but that cost $7.50. So if I divide the top and bottom by 3, I get that the cauliflower is $2.50 per pound. The asparagus, they tell us that it is 1.5 pounds, but that was for $9.30 worth. If I divide the top and bottom by 1.5, I get that it is $6.20 for a single pound. So I've now found that the onions are $3.80, cauliflower $2.50, and the asparagus $6.20. So it's pretty clear here that the asparagus is the most expensive. What I did is I just took all three things and I turned them into unit rates so they're easier to compare. If you can try this one, they want to find which type of rice costs the most per pound. They tell me that white rice is this much, this $16 for 64 ounces. Brown rice is $33.60 for 96 ounces. Glutinous rice is $14.40 for 48 ounces worth. My recommendation for this is to make sure you're using the calculator and to find the unit rate of each. Pause the video here and then we'll go over it. So I know I want to find which one costs the most per pound. So I'm going to take the white rice and I'm going to set it up so I can find its single ounce. Now, it originally cost me 64 ounces. I bought 64, and that was $16 worth. But I want to find a single ounce, so I know if I divide this by 64, and I divide this by 64. If I type that into my calculator, it tells me that it costs 25 cents per ounce for white rice. If I look at the brown rice, they told me that it was $33.60 for 96 ounces, but I need to find a single ounce so it's easy to compare. So I would divide the top and bottom by 96, and if I type that into my calculator, I get 35 cents per ounce. And if I try my last one, the gluten rice looks like it is $14.40 for 48 ounces, but I need to find a single ounce. So I would divide the top and bottom by 48. And when I do that, I get 30 cents per ounce. So if I'm looking for the most expensive one, it looks to me like the most expensive one here is right here. The brown rice is 35 cents compared with everything else, which is a little bit cheaper.